Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been 2 weeks since my last video and I missed you guys so much. Thanks once again for all of your support on my previous videos. Today we're going to discuss a very controversial person, Meghan Markle, or as she likes to be referred to as these days, Meghan Sussex, right? Okay. I want to start with asking you guys to go to the comment section right now and let me know your thoughts about Meghan. Do you love her? Do you hate her? Are you somewhere in between? As you know, this channel, we don't like to do the black and white thinking, so we're always trying to be fair, right? So let me know your thoughts. It looks like in the recent years, there's way more hate towards Meghan than love. And well, there are reasons for it. We're going to discuss them today. But what do we really know about Meghan? Do we know much about her apart from her being married to Harry? What do we know about her childhood, really? So I kind of want to dive into all of that today and, as always, do a psychological analysis. Please, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, comment, and of course, subscribe. You're always welcome on my channel. Disclaimer, I am not a therapist, but having spent 8 years in therapy, I gained a deep understanding of psychological processes, and I love analyzing behaviors by looking beneath the surface. This video is not meant to diagnose and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Let's begin. Rachel, her first name's Rachel. Rachel Meghan Markle was born on August 4th, 1981 in Los Angeles, California. And as you probably already know, she was born in a biracial family. So her mother, Doria Ragland, she is African-American, social worker and yoga instructor. They're very close with her mom, especially in the recent years. And her dad, Thomas Markle Sr., Caucasian, worked as a lighting director in television and actually won a daytime Emmy. Basically, because of her father's job, she spent time on sets as a child. So she was kind of almost born into the TV Hollywood lifestyle in a way. I guess we can't say that she is a Napo baby like other kids in Hollywood, but she was definitely familiar with the lifestyle, with how it works from early childhood. She grew up in View Park, Windsor Hills, a wealthy African-American neighborhood in LA, before moving to other areas in LA. When she was 6, unfortunately, her parents got a divorce, and she was kind of in between the two homes. Another thing to mention, she was exposed to progressive activism from early childhood. She has 2 older siblings on her father's side from his previous relationship. And I guess we can confidently say she's not so close with her siblings because around the time she was getting married, there was a lot of drama surrounding the wedding. Her sister was in all the tabloids speaking about how ungrateful Meghan is. Supposedly she was not happy that she wasn't invited to her wedding. Her father also was very angry with Meghan and calling her ungrateful and saying that he spent all this money on her education and he supported her. And it's kind of like we never know, you know, when you listen to family members, you never know where the truth lies. And in my opinion, each side always has their own truth, and each side always contributes to the negative outcomes of a specific relationship and family dynamics. So we're not gonna choose the who's the right, who's wrong here. It's just a fact. They're not close, right? She's only close with her mom. Meghan always loved performing. She grew up to be an actress, and people can say, yeah, she wasn't that big of an actress. People who really hate Meghan Markle say that she was a D-list actress, but still, Suits that was shot in Canada, she's known for it, right? It's not some niche, small show that nobody ever heard about. So we can say that she rose to her own level of fame by meeting Harry. It's interesting to me how I can't say that I like Meghan Markle, and I have really strong opinions about her on a personal level. But when I start to analyze from a psychological perspective, I always feel sorry for these people. When I start talking about these things, like now I'm getting to telling you guys what I think may have influenced her, what kind of traumas she could have had that made her who she is right now. I already feel this empathy like towards her, and I can't just call her a bad person. And like you watch those YouTube videos, especially I feel like on the conservative side of the US media, people really, really hate her. And I know why, I understand why, but I have to warn you, we're gonna find some sympathy for her in this video. I feel like that's where it's going to. Let's start with biracial issues. So, kind of fast forwarding to her marriage to Harry and all that disaster, and them moving away, running away, as they said, from the royal family, and how she was saying that race played an issue in this, and this is just because she's black, and so on. Okay. In my opinion, growing up in the 80s, 90s in a biracial family already meant Meghan didn't clearly fit into like one or the other, right? And I hear that from a lot of my biracial friends and acquaintances, that you kind of torn between the two, especially in those years, right? It must have been difficult for her. And I suppose she had chronic identity negotiation, like, who am I really? Where do I belong? And then hyper awareness of how she's perceived, basically trying to play a role, maybe even when she's with one group of people, and then playing a role of this other person when she's with another group of people. I believe it could have developed at a very early age, this acting, literally and figuratively speaking, because that was her coping mechanism almost, her way to adjust in this world. And if her parents, imagine they already were divorced, so instead of having this strong family structure where you're supported and where your parents explain to you what this means and help you with your struggles in this matter, instead of that, your parents are divorced, you're in between those two homes. It even further separates, right, her within this matter. Erikson's theory of psychological development says that in adolescence, it's the time when we find our identity, our sense of self. We, in our own minds, kind of determine who we are in this world, right? And her story kind of complicates it for her as a child. I imagine that time she didn't like outgrow it. She kind of took it with her to her adulthood. And the things we see her do right now, her being so performative a lot of times and so on, it could be the result of that early childhood issue. And on the subject of race, the first time I heard actually her and Harry in that interview with Oprah, where do I begin, right? They pushed the narrative that, okay, somebody in the royal family, well, his father, I guess they kind of tried to say, allegedly said something like, oh, I wonder what color is that baby gonna be, and it deeply hurt Meghan's feelings. She's like, oh, you see, that's because I'm black there. And Oprah was like, what
I was pregnant all around this same time, so we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
The first time I heard that, I immediately thought to myself, okay, this is definitely a case of her thinking negatively of being black herself, projecting it onto others and thinking that others think that. And to be honest, and I can imagine a lot of people will probably not understand or like judge me for saying this, but in my opinion, a lot of this perceived negative attention on the matter of your skin color is because you yourself don't accept your skin color. It actually has a term in psychology. It's called internalized racism. Basically, if you yourself, and yes, there are historical reasons for it, I understand, but just like a dry facts, on a deeper level, you feel shame for being of a specific skin color. You don't know how to cope with that shame. So you basically take it and put it outward and project it on other people. And you think that every time somebody looks at you at a supermarket, it means that they looked at the color of your skin, which is 99 out of 100 not the case. Because in general, other people don't care about you. I mean, about me, about anyone. Like, other people live their own lives. They're walking around and thinking about their stuff and what they have to do and their problems and stuff. That rarely somebody is looking at somebody and thinking, like, having the time to have like, ooh, like, oh, the judge and stuff. I mean, yeah, people judge, but I don't believe it's to the extent that people often feel because they are projecting. If, God forbid, as a child, if Meghan experienced some sort of bullying or something like that, because kids can be mean, right? Then if she didn't kind of digest all of this, and if her parents didn't help her understand what's going on, what it really means, that other people are jealous, maybe, or other people are having their own issues that they don't know how to cope with, and they are projecting their hatred onto somebody else, and they think that you don't like them, and that's why they're being mean to you. It's all very complicated because, guys, the truth is, and this is something I learned after years in therapy, is that people most times don't know why they feel the way they feel. And they usually just know the surface, like, ooh, I'm angry because, and they, without therapy, it's impossible to like rewind, go back to your, I don't know, baby years, to the time when you were breastfed by your mom and how it influenced the way you feel angry right now. And there is a link. There's a link between everything, every traumatic experience you had as a child, even like you hit your toe and your dad laughed at you, which actually happened to me. And it's funny that I said that right now because it's also like a Freudian slip, because I didn't even think of that and didn't like, yeah, it wasn't on the surface. And your dad didn't even mean to laugh. It was about something else he saw on TV in that second, and you thought he's laughing at you, and then it stuck and nobody explained it to you. You didn't cry about it, didn't release those feelings, and then you grow up, and now, I don't know, every time you hit your toe, you think the world hates you. Something like that. It's just, I'm like, just like basic example. But what I mean is, if Meghan experienced some kind of bullying, God forbid, in childhood related to the color of her skin, definitely it resulted in when allegedly the father of her husband saying, "Oh, I wonder what the color of your baby is going to be," she immediately thought that it has some negative tone to it, because people may be curious. It doesn't mean that if the baby has a darker skin, it's a bad thing. Why is it a bad thing? If you think it is, then, well, that's how you think, but it doesn't mean that. Maybe a lot of people wish they had that color of the skin. Surprise. So it's very, very complicated. And like I said, the moment I heard her almost calling them racist, well, they kind of backtracked from that, but like they insinuated that the royal family is racist. I don't think they are. I think Meghan is projecting. So what happens next to Meghan, right? She was married once, and actually when she was getting married to Harry, she was a divorcee, a mixed race, all of these things that on paper were once back in the day unacceptable in the United Kingdom, but they were willing to overlook all of that and accept her to their family, and saying that that they hated her. Like, if they really were so opposed to a different color of the skin in their family, or to her being previously divorced and stuff like that, they wouldn't have allowed her to get married. Like, it's actually not that hard for them to have just blocked the whole idea and not allow Harry to marry her, or like let him do whatever he wants out there, like not the huge expensive wedding in the palace, right? But like do it on your own somewhere. So she was accepted, actually. She didn't feel like she was accepted. That's a different thing. And in the recent years, it's all about the feelings in the world. Well, in the US, to be honest, because a lot, like everything that later on, all the movements that happen in the rest of the world, usually they start in the US. I don't want to talk politics here, and I'm not even American, so I don't like vote. I don't care that much, but it's noticeable that left-leaning politicians usually push the like babying everybody and so feeling sorry for everybody. This like a very childish way of perceiving life. Right? It's teaching people to feel sorry for themselves, feel sorry for everybody else. It's kind of communistic in nature, and I originate from a post-USSR country, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Like everybody's equal, all of this communism stuff. So after several years of that, we now live in a world where everybody's just so sensitive. You can't say anything, you can make a joke, everybody's immediately getting angry and recording TikToks about how you can say that, you can do that, and everybody's just really sorry for themselves. And Meghan is one of those people, it looks like to me. So she's constantly, and add Harry to that, so basically both of them, once they became one family, they both kind of chose this victim path. Like they're victims, the world is against them, we're gonna fight for our love, and everybody hates us. And this is like actually, if you think about it, it's a super childish way of looking at life. And it's easy. Like it's easier than admitting things, than admitting the negative traits in your own character, working on yourself. Who wants to spend all the time and money for therapy and like looking into that and sitting there in the evening instead of I don't know, eating chips, reading a book, or analyzing your behavior? So who wants that, right? It's way easier to say that he's wrong, he did that to me, it's his fault, it's not my fault, I'm a saint. So a lot of people use that like route, and that's the route Meghan and Harry took in life, basically. The thing is, I understand them, kind of. I mean, if you generally deep inside feel like a victim, like for example in Harry's case, how could he not? I mean, it looks like he didn't really overcome the trauma of his mom passing away when he was a young child. So how could he not feel like the world is against him, like if something like that happened to him, which is literally one of the worst things that could happen to a child, losing their mom? I can only imagine how unfair he thought it was. He might have been thinking, why me? Why did it happen to me? Why my mom? Like, why? And growing up with that trauma, and then meeting a lady and completely like putting the mask of his mom on her and saving her through Transference, that we've discussed many times on my channel. I feel like I talk about it in every single video almost, but because it's just so common. So he basically put a mask of his mom on Meghan, and saving her in his mind subconsciously is gonna help him save his mom, sort of. Like, it's such a deep issue. I mean, Transference as a whole, because like I said in my previous videos, everybody's doing it. Most likely you have to be like completely super healthy and no traumas in childhood, perfect childhood, to not be using that as an adult. Like people in general meet each other because of their traumas. Like they choose partners to fix something in their childhood, basically through transference. And transference in simple terms is basically taking the person right next to you and kind of using them to fix something in your childhood by taking the idea of a person, usually a caregiver, a parent from your childhood, and putting them like almost as a mask on this partner of yours. Oh my gosh, it's such an annoying thing. Like when I think of it in my own life, even realizing like every time I do it now because of therapy, I kind of catch myself all the time doing that. It is just so annoying that it still happens. And I mean, going back, I digress. Going back to Harry, he clearly sees his mom in Meghan and talks about it all the time.
So much of what Meghan is and how she is so similar to my mum. She has the same compassion, she has the same empathy, she has the same confidence. She has this warmth about her.
So I can understand why Harry, you know, under his circumstances, would like to use the victim route. And Meghan, also with her parents' divorce, the biracial issue, and then narcissistic tendencies, which we're going to talk about in a second. Yeah, definitely it's a easy way out of their situation. But you know what the problem is? The worst thing about the victim thing is that it makes you very unlikable. Because, you know, instead of working on yourself, instead of fixing your own issues and basically making the life of people around you easier, like making it bearable for them to even be around you, instead of working towards that goal, you just like, it's you and me, baby, against the world, and everybody hates us, but we're the best, and like all this narcissism, you know, mixed into it. And it's just, it leads to what we have today, that I don't want to say everybody hates them, but if you love them, let me know in the comments. Seriously. Please. I want to know who you are. Like I said, I mean, I have some sympathy for them because I kind of understand why. I mean, obviously I'm speculating here, right? I don't know these people, but I kind of understand. I have sympathy for them, but it doesn't excuse them. I mean, even if you've experienced a lot of trauma, and it doesn't excuse your behavior. Like you can say later, oh, I made up that lie because that happened to me. It doesn't excuse you still, because you are an adult. Like you're not a baby anymore. You're not a child anymore. A child can be like, oh, I didn't know what I felt at that moment, and I did this. I hit my mom because I was angry, because she didn't do this and did that. Like kids, like with kids, you can explain to them, you teach them how to overcome their negative emotions, stuff like that. But when you're an adult, you're responsible. The childhood is over. And actually, I was thinking about making a step-by-step video analysis of Meghan and Harry's relationship. So let me know if you would like that, or would you like a separate video about Harry maybe? Today I decided just to focus on Meghan because, you know, she's been the talk of the town recently because of her new show, which we're going to get to. So, okay, I mentioned narcissism briefly, and you know how I feel about this subject. I mentioned it in my previous videos also, that I feel like narcissism is the only explanation for everything that happens in Hollywood. Like, you open YouTube, narcissist, he's a narcissist. Justin Baldoni, oh, sorry, no, not him. Ryan Reynolds is a narcissist. Blake Lively is a narcissist. I don't know. Everybody is a narcissist, and it like explains everything. This term is just being overly used. It like people do people even understand what they are talking about, in the sense that, okay, narcissistic defenses. Everybody uses narcissistic defenses here and there. Like you can't probably survive without using narcissistic defenses, because Are you a narcissist when your boyfriend breaks up with you and you're like, he didn't deserve me anyway? Like, that's a narcissistic defense. Are you a narcissist now? Like, it's a broad term, and there's a term, narcissistic personality disorder, which is like a diagnosis, and it's a serious thing, right? And then there's all these different shades of narcissistic mechanisms and defenses that people use, and some people are using it more, some people using it less, especially if we talk about people in the public eye, like dramatic people, artists, musicians, actors. They tend to use narcissistic mechanisms more than other people. But does it like, you can't just give them a diagnosis? So it kind of annoys me when I hear it all the time. So on Meghan's example today, I want to show you what like the difference is, and let's together kind of see how narcissism plays out in Meghan's behavior. I'm going to read you from my notes here the definition. What is a narcissistic personality disorder, NPD? According to the DSM-5, the Psychological Diagnostic Manual, NPD is characterized by grandiosity in behavior or fantasy, need for excessive admiration, lack of empathy, sense of entitlement, exploitation of others, fragile self-esteem masked by arrogance or confidence. To be diagnosed, these traits must be pervasive across many areas of life, cause significant impairment or distress, and have started in early adulthood. When we look at Meghan, let's look at it objectively now, in two ways. One in narcissistic framing and one in just like a balanced view. So first of all, her control over her public image, for example. Narcissistic framing would be she's obsessed with how people see her. And a more balanced view would be like, because of her being biracial and her struggles throughout her life, she's using it as a trauma coping mechanism. And it's not inherently narcissistic. The second thing, as we mentioned, playing the victim, right? So narcissistic framing, she thrives for drama and admiration. And a more balanced view, again, because of the way she was raised and the things that happened to her, she may be speaking about pain not in a manipulative way, but as a way of like healing, because talking about it maybe helps her out, like releases her pain, basically. From these simple examples, we can see that, yes, maybe she's showing some traits of NPD, but those same traits could be a result of trauma, of being misunderstood for a long time, and especially if she was misunderstood in childhood. And it could be basically her survival strategy. To be honest, when I'm watching her interviews, she's so performative all the time, in my opinion, that again, I almost feel sorry for her. It's like she can't be herself. Like, people look at that and usually judge and say, oh, she's just not authentic at all. Why can't she just be herself? But maybe she can't, guys, because there's an issue there. Maybe she, what is narcissism? Even the narcissists are people who hate themselves, basically, who think they're not good enough, so they have to like build up this persona kind of to hide behind it and to make people like them, and then it hurts everybody, basically, this whole facade. So if she like doesn't like herself, then she kind of has to perform all the time. And another thing in these cases, I think that people who this kind of thing happens to don't even know what's true and what's not. Like, they start playing these games, and then after some time they don't even know what they think. Like, they don't walk around thinking that they don't like themselves. So when they build this persona for the outside world, they kind of maybe start believing it almost, and they get stuck in this whole game, and after some time they don't even know, like, they start to believe that they're so superior to everybody, and that's where all that the negative perception of these people comes from. In the end, they basically making it worse for themselves. It's much worse to do that than to be yourself. And again, it sounds like such an easy thing, right? When I say right now, just be yourself. No, it's not that easy for a lot of people, trust me. It's important to understand that trauma responses can mimic narcissistic traits, especially in high-profile personas like Meghan Markle, Sussex. Again, let's separate the two. The need for control versus narcissistic control. Controlling environments, people, narratives looks like narcissism. At the same time, someone who experienced betrayal, chaos in their childhood especially, need control to survive. So for them, it's not so much about ego, it's more about control for survival. It's a survival mechanism. High sensitivity to criticism versus narcissistic fragility. Overreacting to gentle feedback looks like narcissism, right? At the same time, if someone was invalidated or blamed growing up, they may see even neutral comments as attacks. It's not arrogance, it's a nervous system on high alert. It's like there was a case with the infamous, and I made a video about it, Blake Lively with the baby bump, and the interviewer complimenting her on her baby bump, and she's taking it as an offense. Similar thing, Meghan Markle in her fantastic show. Did you see it on Netflix? In that show, one of the infamous moments that everybody's talking about is the one with Mindy Kaling. Let's watch it and we'll talk.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now.
Mindy just basically complimented her, insinuating that, you know, you're so amazing. Nobody would have thought that you were just like us. And somehow Meghan takes it as an offense that she called her Meghan Markle and not Meghan Sussex. And it looks like arrogance. And maybe it is arrogance if she's that narcissistic and if it's all coming from us. But guys, maybe it's traumatic in nature. Like she's just built that way. She's built to think that the world hates her, if that's the way her parents treated her. And I'm sure you know that's possible, because I'm sure you know people, if it's not you, then other people with whom their parents were not that kind all the time when they were children, right? Let's try to stay fair at least. The next characteristic to compare, self-focus versus me-centered language. It is narcissistic to only talk about themselves, their own narrative, their own problems. It's all me, me, me. But the trauma route would be if the person as a child was not heard, was not understood, was not taken seriously, was like always, you go away, kiddo. They may become overly self-focused to reclaim their story. It's not them being selfish, it's them trying to integrate their past and protect their identity. And strong boundaries versus cutting people off. So cutting people off, being cold, arrogant, unwilling to reconcile is narcissistic. The trauma route, someone who's been deeply wounded, hurt by their close relationships, may enforce rigid boundaries as a form of self-defense. The goal isn't to punish, it's to feel safe again. Makes me think of Blake Lively again. And then performing confidence versus curated image. That makes us think of Meghan's show on Netflix. Being always polished, image conscious, performative. Looks like narcissism, right? Is narcissistic in nature. At the same time, trauma root is that many trauma survivors wear a mask of confidence to hide vulnerability. And this false self is a survival strategy. It's not narcissism. And this is especially true if someone was taught to be perfect to be accepted. And I feel like all of these comparisons apply to Meghan Markle. So which one is it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments again. Do you think it's narcissism or do you think it's trauma-based? The key difference is intention and empathy. Narcissism is driven by ego, it lacks empathy, often manipulates for validation or power. And trauma is driven by fear of wounding. May still have deep empathy, but is guarded or hidden under survival instincts. And this leads us to the last point I want to discuss about Meghan, the alleged lies. People say that a lot of things that she said, especially in the beginning of her relationship with Harry, did not correlate with other people's truths. Like, for example, there was this whole narrative that she never heard of the royal family. And then her friends coming up and saying, wait, she was a fan of Diana's. Like, she knew who the royal family was. She visited London and Buckingham Palace as a tourist. All of these things, like, why would you do that? Like, my grandpa knows who Diana was. I mean, everybody knows who Diana was. Even at least they heard of her. How can you seriously sit there and claim that you've never... No, I just didn't. I went on this date with this guy and I heard he was a prince of something, some country. I don't know where that is. She visited the UK before, right? I don't know where that is, but yeah, I don't know about his family. Diana who? Like, girl, for real though. I mean, even here, I kind of can find a psychological explanation and like an excuse for Meghan. Always, you're welcome, Meghan. So the possibility is that it's narrative building to regain control. Trauma survivors often reframe their experiences, not to lie, but to make sense of their experience, especially if they felt powerless at the time. The story may shift depending on context, emotional memory, or the desire to be understood even. The thing is, she may be telling a story and her own emotional truth may be still real to her. And I've actually noticed that in like even kids in my childhood, like boys lying for no reason. It usually also comes from trauma. Like, these people often don't do it on purpose. Again, it's not an excuse. I want you to understand, I'm not excusing this behavior. I'm just explaining why it happens. Again, as an adult, as a child, maybe, again, your parents can talk to you and you can change your behavior eventually. But as an adult, as a grown woman, it's your responsibility to fix this, to not be in situations that then later some people will call you a liar for them. For example, that infamous video with Ellen when she told the story of how they met and then later Ellen said, I don't remember any of this.
We met, God, I don't know how many years ago. How long ago was that?
A long time ago, well before I was even on Suits, I think over a decade ago maybe, right? But we met at a pet shop. And I was going there to rescue a dog, and it was right around Christmas time, and you would come in at the same time, and you just looked at me and said, are you getting that dog? Get that dog. You have to take that dog home. I was like, well, if Ellen said I have to take the dog home, I'm getting this dog.
She said in an interview that years ago she was at a dog rescue, and apparently I was there, and I said, you have to take that dog home, and because I told her to, she took it home. And I don't remember any of this.
It's all very strange. So another psychological explanation can be protecting self-image in unsafe places. In situations where such people feel judged or rejected or unsafe generally, they may present a curated version of themselves to avoid a further attack. This can come off as fake, but actually it's often learned from environments where authenticity was punished. So if in Meghan's family she was punished for being herself, then here you go. Especially now, since she's been vilified globally, you know, her PR strategies and the way she's trying to present herself now and all these moves that don't help their couple at all, they may be coming from that. In general, being fake from a psychological lens can stem from a false self syndrome, a concept coined by Winnicott, where a person creates a fake self to be accepted in their environments where their real self is rejected. It's often found in women who were taught to be perfect, liked, good girls, right? Meghan may have developed this chameleon-like persona, again, to survive in this world, basically. But when does this all actually become manipulative? It's when it's conscious. It's if a person consciously lies, consciously makes these moves, then it is manipulative, narcissistic in nature. So which one is it? I don't know. But I think, to be fair, it's important to know that there is a difference, and that there are different grounds that these things grow from in people. So what do you guys think? What did you think of Meghan's show? That was definitely very, very performative. It's trying very hard to be likable, but again, the saddest thing is that it's not working. Like, especially these days, I feel like people of the world just appreciate authenticity and realism. The days of performance are gone, thank God. So yeah, these curated Netflix shows of perfect luxury life no longer work, I think. Thank you guys so much for being with me today, and let me know, please, what would you like me to talk about in my next video? Would you like me to continue analyzing this couple or something else? I would love to hear from you. Thanks again for all your support, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.